Sergey, welcome.
Hello, friends. Greetings to everyone. We have a very interesting guest today. I've known Sergey for a long time, and he has kindly agreed to talk about what he does. These are truly fantastic things for Russia. But let's start from the beginning. So it's about the product and its promotion. In general, Sergey, introduce yourself briefly. Who are you? What is your status, your position? Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Sergey. I'm from the city of Tula. I own several companies specifically. Today, we're going to talk about airships. So right now, I'm acting as the CEO and owner of a company that creates, develops, manufactures, and will operate next generation airships. And before this, you had other innovative projects, including in other countries. Why did you choose airships specifically? What, in your opinion, attracted you to them? Why exactly? Why not deep sea diving in the Mariana Trench or going into space? Why airships? Well, within the framework of my other companies, I mean, I have a fund that finances technological developments. I was constantly searching for a new product, meaning new technologies. At some point, I learned that the Soviet Union had a huge engineering school that produced incredible talent. The Union was gone, the system was gone, but the people with the technologies and developments remained. But they found themselves without access to commercializing these technologies. So experienced professional people with, a perpetual motion machine in their hands, right? They can't bring it to the world. So I was always looking for people like that. And I found this project about 4 years ago. All of this happens through meeting one of the key people. That was Kirillin. He's the chief designer of airships in Russia. And he really immersed me in this field. That is, as part of searching for new projects to finance, to create a company, to commercialize, hundreds and hundreds of different projects passed through us. We invested a little bit here and there, watched what's happening, and sometimes you come across real gems. In my view, airships are just so cool and fascinating to watch. Let's call it what it is, they're truly remarkable. It's so inspiring to see these majestic machines in the sky. It's just so, well, I just wanted to do it. So I felt this sense that the machines are incredibly cool, but there's no industry, no one is working on them for some reason. I mean, there are a few individual examples in America and Europe, and in Russia, there used to be an industry, they were being built. So it was happening. People just somehow forgot about them and stopped. And I just saw an opportunity in this. I realized that the amount of our resources, our competencies was enough. I took a look. That is the readiness of the team of specialists, whether we can truly take on this project, create it, and do something significant, something really big, something that everyone will genuinely like and appreciate.
You've worked on airships for 4 years?
For 4 years, I studied the subject. I immersed myself in it. I really dove in. I mean, I knew absolutely nothing about airships. I met the chief designer who inspired me. I went to Friedrichshafen in Germany for a tourist flight. I flew on an airship. It was an incredible feeling. That's when I noticed that the company Zeppelin, which everyone knows was there, they have only 3 airships in total. 2 of them give tours, they travel around. The flights last from half an hour to an hour and a half. The price, I think, ranges from 400 to 900 euros. And I bought tickets 6 months in advance just to be able to fly. That's how it was. Then for another 6 months, I tried to buy another ticket, hoping someone would cancel. Not a single ticket became available. This company with just these 2 14-seat vehicles makes $150 million a year.
2-3 vehicles.
With 2 vehicles. The third one is a backup, just in case. So I realized there was big money in this, and I studied it. A lot of years were needed for me to believe in all of this. Of course, this kind of scale is a bit mind-boggling. So we set out to revive the industry, to create the airship industry in Russia from scratch, using modern approaches and so on. And the realization that this is actually possible, that understanding formed in me about 3 or 4 years ago, it developed internally. That summer in August, I said, I announced to everyone publicly. Do you remember? I said I was starting a company. We're bringing in specialists, we're attracting investors. And so that's how we got started.
Right. So you interact with the scientific community. From my experience, these are very interesting, rather unique people. How do you manage to find common ground with them? What language do you speak with them? How do you persuade them, get them interested in something? Because these are people who really love interesting challenges. Revive industry. On the other hand, they do communicate, connect scientists, inventors.
Just like in any situation where the language is unfamiliar to you, you need a translator. Translators are needed. That is usually, well, I have such people on my team, specifically Fedor, whom you probably all know. So he's simply an engineer who is closely connected to our company, our finances, modern marketing, and so on. At the same time, he's an engineer by education, an engineer by profession. He's built rockets and so on and so forth. And he understands the aspirations, the trends, and again, probably the message, because people come, right? A big idea gives a lot of energy. It attracts these loud slogans. We held a conference. We said, we have nothing. We don't know how to do anything, but we will get to work. We will build. And people heard that and came. Then, so to speak, we sized each other up to see if we were really going to do something and not just make loud statements. Yes. And they also want to see their own ideas realized. That is, they wanted to come into the world to make money from it. So, like, have you seen the car? Mine. You see? That too. Here, and so gradually we're starting to bond. But yes, there are issues because we're from different eras, from completely different worlds with different goals and everything else. And well, over 10 years, I've learned how to adapt. Yes.
Cool. Super. Sergey Brin is the creator of Google and LTA Airship project, and your main figure behind the Aeronova project. Is that right?
Yes.
So who inspires you in building the next generation of airships? Is it someone from our country, inventors, or business people do you look up to?
Look, as for personality essence, the industry is in decline. There really aren't any notable figures. What inspires me is the direction itself, the technology, the potential, and this feeling of FOMO that the fifth ocean is simply not being used by anyone. I mean, yes, there are airplanes and all that, but these machines are in a different class. They're not competitors, they're slower and so on. But they are cheaper. So it's really the grandeur and the remarkable significance of the very idea of aeronautics and the exciting opportunity to be a part of this extraordinary field. I mean, you see, in theory, we could even build something as ambitious as a Boeing aircraft, just as an exaggeration, to illustrate the scale of what's possible. We could actually create a modern, fresh, and high-tech company, one that is dedicated to solving very specific and complex problems for which there is enormous and ever-increasing demand.
What are you focusing on more right now? Is it more about marketing tools to attract supporters, or is it the technological side, or are both happening in parallel?
Yes, it's like asking which leg is more important, the right or the left. We have two indispensable elements. One is, of course, funding. That's why we need to organize marketing series, extensive and popular marketing. And the second is to be attractive, to inspire genuine interest and curiosity among players on the technological side. For example, the specialists, we attract engineers, designers, and those who work in control systems. They're drawn to us because they come to us, and there really aren't that many of them in the country, which makes their presence here even more significant. Dirigibles, well, how many are there? Where from anyway? Exactly. So we're talking about investment direction, marketing, the technological direction, and the partnership direction, in the sense that we need to be seen as a reliable partner to whom you can entrust your cargo logistics. In other words, someone you can do business with, because there are already some really big players in that field. We're talking about major companies and so on. So those are the three areas where we're actively working.
All right, good. So it's known that Sergey Brin has invested $250 million in airship construction. and the market itself is estimated at $50 billion. Are you aiming for a certain figure, or let me put it another way? How much funding is needed for the first airship to fly in Russia? One built from scratch.
Let me, I think you mean well. We've already launched our first one. It's already flying, but it's unmanned. You probably mean manned airships with passengers, right? That's a bit more complicated.
So you wouldn't have to pay 400 euros or get a visa to go.
Look, specifically, again, there are different stages here. Roughly speaking, just getting the machine airborne with enough cargo on board is one thing. Certifying that machine and then being able to sell it so that it can actually carry cargo and transport people, that's a whole different story. To produce a serial machine, obtain a type certificate for it, and sell it to a commercial customer or provide transportation services with it, that's yet a fourth story. That's already, well, much further down the line. So the machine itself, the passenger version that we can actually operate, will most likely have it ready by next spring. So we'll build it this year. It's just that we need, well, the right weather conditions. This is one story, but certification is more complicated. So that's why the question is, we think that, as I said, we'll get the machine airborne and suitable for passenger transport already next year. But as for the certification process and bringing it to market, that will take at least 3 years.
You enough funds still in progress?
Yes. Right now, we're laying out the first, roughly speaking, round that we've announced. That's $100 million. We've given ourselves a time frame of 3 to 5 years, but that's specifically for creating the core of the technology as a starting point. This will include production lines with mass production capability. 4 types of machines are being launched. Essentially, it's a platform of various sizes with different load capacities capable of traveling different distances. In other words, there are many combinations. Mainly, airships are classified by their size. So roughly speaking, 2,000 cubic meters, 8,000 cubic meters, 35,000 cubic meters. There are soft, semi-rigid, and rigid types. So we selected 4 models. It's possible that now we'll expand them, the ones we'll make. And our task is to say that we are capable of creating the technology that you can come to us and then. But as for carrying out each specific project, I don't know. Right now, there are customers who need useful sky time to transport things where there are no roads, right? So basically, you just need to lay a route through the sky, like a caravan, they'll travel along it. They also need a base there, and the volumes there are essentially unlimited. So it's like building airfields. Where will you store them? Where will you repair them? And where exactly? And when?
So good. Do you work only with Russian investments? Or if the Chinese come to you and buy everything, would that be okay or not?
Well, we work with investments from all over the world. Our financial structure collects investments from collective investors, from private individuals, just so you understand. The average person invests about $2,000. People can also contribute, say, 10% in installments, roughly speaking, $200 or $100 at a time. By the way, I just pulled up some statistics. You asked the question. So I gathered this. Look, if we look right now at where our investments are coming from by country, right? So look, Russia is in first place. We have 2,000 investors there. Then in second place is India with 777 investors. In third place is Togo, 500 investors. Then Cote d'Ivoire, 500 investors. Vietnam, 500 investors. Benin, 470. Burkina Faso, 310. South Africa, 250. Mozambique, 227. Senegal. So we have, well, in Africa, from Australia. The thing about crowdfunding is that it's basically like an online store where you can buy a share in a big startup literally in 2 clicks, right, from your phone. And that's what makes it interesting. Well, since we have a developed partner network all over the world, so our website, as I said, is translated into, I don't remember exactly, probably about 30 languages. We have around 30 national offices. So basically in 30 countries, we have agents who give presentations, talk about our project, and people through the internet, essentially through a crowd platform, become co-owners of this enterprise.
Impressive. So the market is valued at $50 billion, and over the next 20 years, it will grow with a financial return of 100 times. Are there any other markets with similar potential? Is this kind of growth normal? Or does it sometimes go even higher?
Well, in today's world, honestly, I guess this has become normal. From what I know, when you see a potential of, say, 10 times or 100 times growth, it usually happens at the very beginning of some technological solutions. If you look back in history, what did we have before? The emergence of the internet, the rise of social networks, and the creation of entirely new types of infrastructure. But it's it's obvious that right now the market with 100% of that kind of potential is the artificial intelligence market. So we're currently at the phenomenal stage in human development, where in this market everyone is on equal footing, everyone is just getting started. In terms of its impact, artificial intelligence is like the advent of electricity. It will create entire worlds. It will create those who generate electricity, those who transmit it, and those who use that electricity to heat their homes. It will create those who manufacture equipment that runs on electricity, and it will create a market for those who operate this equipment and use it to perform various tasks. So I think this is number one.
Electricity secondary.
Yes. This is the number one topic in the world with potential of 1,000, I don't even know.
You have something like that in mind?
Yes, but ours is more down to earth, more grounded, because the entry price for those kinds of ventures is, well, for me, it's still not even tangible. We use it, but I'm just not ready. Even though I'm a mathematician programmer by training, I don't understand how it works. I don't think I can have any influence there, and I'm more interested in tangible things. Clear, understandable, like a machine that flies. If no one else is launching it, I'll do it myself.
Speaking of AI, your team has an automated control and AI specialist. Is that just a sign of the times? Is it just a trend? Are you following the trend, or has artificial intelligence really found its place in airship construction? It seems like a straightforward technology. Why would you need AI for it?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There's no point in trying to shove artificial intelligence everywhere, but at the same time, we can use it in our work. Again, you have to understand an airship is basically like a car, roughly speaking. There's an onboard computer, right? And it's better to program it with algorithms, and trust for greater reliability and so on. You know exactly what will happen if you press this button or pull that lever and so forth. At the same time, an airship can perform various functions. For example, it might be equipped with devices for surveying terrain, right? And this footage needs to be analyzed somehow. For example,
I see.
There might be a fire, a person walking, or a car moving faster. So for controlling the airship, artificial intelligence isn't really needed because it draws its own conclusions and might suddenly veer off in the wrong direction. But later on, perhaps when we've collected enough data, it will all come down to simply entering, like in Yandex Navigator, for example, pick me up at Bolshaya Akademikeskaya and take me there. And it just builds the route and lifts off. Right now, this is exactly the principle behind those air taxis being introduced in China, except they use a drone system. So they're noisy. They only fly for about 20 minutes, not much longer than that. A dirigible, on the other hand, can fly for hours. So everything will get much simpler in the same way. And you don't even need artificial intelligence for that. It's just a flight assignment, a bit different than automated system. But as for any payload it might carry, what would it be? I don't know. We have people who are asking us right now about repeaters, observation, communications, etc. So for their work, well, that's already up to a specific client. When they propose their own payload, they say, I need it for this purpose.
The canopy meant to be a function of the airship.
The payload is whatever the dirigible is, essentially a platform that can lift anything you want. And you might say, please make me a luxury class cabin. Someone else might say, I want to be able to attach a container. A third person might say, I want to be able to sit there and go fishing. So basically, that's the payload, what you can carry.
Cool. All right, time for a little conspiracy theory. At some point, the history of airship construction just stopped. I've read various articles on this topic, and it almost seems like the aviation industry deliberately shut it down. That's the impression I got. I was also once walking around Novodevichy Cemetery. There's a story written on a gravestone over there describing how an airship was flying through the sky and then suffered an incredible crash. Reading that inscription, I couldn't help but think to myself that this definitely can't just be a coincidence. There must be something more to it. What's your opinion on this? Did someone deliberately put this industry on hold back then, or did it just happen that way?
That was actually my main objection, the reason why for many years I studied and delved into the topic, but didn't want to work with airships because I kept saying, everyone knows it's nonsense. Like, damn, it burned, people died, and so on.
I didn't really think it was nonsense, you know? I was wondering why they stopped the war.
Yeah, if they stopped, something must have been wrong. The world isn't stupid, it would have. So I started studying it too. What's my opinion? First of all, I have a clear understanding of what drives science and progress. First and foremost is the military. Basically, everything we use in everyday life was introduced by the military 7 to 10 years earlier. At first, it's just used, they're all modern communications, the technology itself, even the internet, that was a military technology for transmitting between, well, you know. Then she came into the world. So, for example, airships appeared, and they were the first to conquer the skies. They were the rulers of the sky. More than 1,000 of these machines were produced. They flew all over the world, made transatlantic crossings and so on. Then, strangely enough, suddenly one of them burned up live on air and the whole industry disappeared. Yes, how strange. In other words, the Titanic sank. There are no more shippers. A plane crashes? Gone.
Concorde 2.
Yes. The question is, why did it catch fire? So there's a theory it was arson, supposedly by airplane competitors, and that it happening live was just absurd. Imagine a dirigible burned up live, people were dying right there.
The Superjet happened live.
There were a couple, yes. There you go. Anyway, the point is there was peaceful skies and they ruled, they floated around and so on and so on. Then the war started. During World War I, they were actively involved in everything. And as engineers, they created airplanes, among other things, to win. And airplanes really did physically become more dangerous than airships because airships are huge and slow, and any small cheap plane could shoot one down. So during wartime, airships really didn't make sense. In other words, they lost their purpose. And I don't know, it seems kind of strange, right? I mean, the airplane won, but the war ended. Why weren't they brought back? Well, for some reason, they weren't brought back, right? So the airship is a means of transportation for peacetime. It doesn't move fast, yes, but it's very capable of carrying heavy loads and maybe some other things, but it's mainly for, let's say, non-military purposes. It's not the fastest, and then at that time, it just wasn't competitive for military use. That's why under certain conditions, one industry overtook another objectively because people weren't focused on delivering agricultural products efficiently. It was more about if you'd survive the next day, if you had a plane or not. That's how it was. So I think that's what made the difference.
So there really weren't any reconnaissance.
I've actually read several articles about this, claiming that yes, it was an order. Supposedly it was even arson. Well,
the future, nevertheless, based on what you're saying, it exists. It's being revived
all over the world. If you pay attention, you know, like when you focus on red, you see red everywhere.
So,
the whole world, and the Russian government has commissioned the development of airships in China. 4 state corporations are working on airships. In China, they even launch rockets into space, lift them up on probes, get them out of the dense layers, and then launch them. Can you imagine? So China is developing rapidly. They exist in Europe, they exist in America, but you can't really say it's at its peak or anything. Russia has a unique opportunity to create modern high-tech airships since the 1940s or 1950s. No one has really rebuilt an airship. It's like, for example, a car from the 1940s and a modern car, 4 wheels, an engine, basically the same thing. Yes, but there are nuances. Different materials, different safety, different controls, different comfort, different quality. Well, everything is truly different. There's really no reason not to do the same thing with airships.
Cool. That's really inspiring. So you said the project has been translated into 30, 50 languages?
Listen, well, we probably have about 30 language groups because the same language is spoken in many countries.
And the biggest response comes from Russia and then from African countries. Is there a country you were really counting on, but it just didn't get involved, like Sweden, for example, or maybe Greenland?
You know how it is with us? We were doing well in Europe because people there are quite financially well off. But with all these events related to the special military operation, things have quieted down. The market I still haven't managed to break into is China. Although actually things are really good there in that regard. They love technology over there. But you see, our mentality just hasn't matched up yet.
Okay. Sergey, briefly, maybe 5 reasons or even more. Why can Aeronovi truly be trusted? Is it the outstanding team of scientists, your innovative projects, or perhaps something else entirely?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have a strong background. We've implemented several large-scale, global, high-tech, international projects. We've assembled the very best team of specialists. That is everyone who built and operated airships in the Soviet Union and Russia. These are all candidates of technical sciences, and they're literally just next door.
So that textbooks, blueprints, projects there.
I can sense an incredible, genuine interest in us, especially from potential clients. I could clearly see the demand in this market. I won't go into detail, but we have very large companies coming to us. They give us their technical specifications, tell us what they want, how many they'll order, what kind of caravans, when, and so on. So there is demand for all of this. Secondly, we are completely public. We are open. Come visit us, take a look right here. We broadcast almost everything practically live. You can come and see for yourself. We've already launched the first airship. So, well, it's complete.
Are there any risks that could, let's say, materialize and bring everything to an end? Or has the industry already gained so much momentum that...
How should I put it? Well, as an entrepreneur, you understand that there's only one risk-free story, right? That one comes a bit later at the end, right? Everything else involves risks. What could happen if we think about it? What could go wrong? There are serious regulatory issues in this area. For example, when we conduct airship tests, they tell us if you raise it much higher than the trees, we'll shoot it down. How it is.
Well, yeah, drones.
At the same time, we also plan to operate in other countries. So if it turns out to be completely unsolvable here, we'll, just since we have partners all over the world, we plan to work globally, and there will be. So I see regulatory issues. There are no technological risks. I mean, well, there are still risks. Like if all our engineers suddenly leave us in this world, but that's also highly unlikely to happen. So we have the materials, we have the technology, we have the people, and there is demand. Here is the resolution, I say. Such a questionable point. Theoretically, what else could prevent it from working out? If some big player comes in and just buys everyone out from me, he'll say something like number one in his usual straightforward manner, or use a similar phrase to indicate the first thing he wants to mention.
All right. Okay, good. How can people follow you? How can someone get involved in the project if they want to? Where should they go? What opportunities are there for observing?
Yes. Everything that we do. That is, first of all, I would like to be well. This isn't my first project, but I really want to cover it actively. I would like your viewers, any people, entrepreneurs who are watching, to see this method of financing and building a large company step by step, live and out in the open. That's why we're as public as possible. I don't know how we could be any more open. We show how we work, how we build, what problems come up, and how we solve them. So you can just be a viewer, subscribe to our, YouTube channel, Next Generation Airships. You can subscribe to me on Telegram, watch, just follow along. If you genuinely like what's happening here, you'll probably want to become a part of it, right? Well, you can actually invest starting from as little as $50, and in return, you'll simply get a small share of this organization, and accordingly, you'll already be considered a part of it. I sometimes like to joke that we're filming a paid series for Netflix, and you can subscribe to it for just $50 a month if you want to support us and be involved. And the more you subscribe, the more likely it is that this series will have a successful ending.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. And the final question.
We currently have 7,500 investors in Dirigible. Remember, I started this project and there are 7,500 people involved.
7,500. That's incredible. Is there an average investor profile, like a typical person, average age, education, or are they all completely different people?
Yes, I periodically check Yandex, Metrica, and so on. Our typical investor profile is a 35-year-old man with a higher education, usually in engineering or technical fields. That's if you carefully examine the comprehensive statistics available for Russia. And you can also clearly observe the expressions and countenances of individuals when they attend various professional conferences and gatherings. These are mature individuals, typically over 40 years of age, who genuinely believe in something inherently good and in the very real possibility of achieving significant success. They truly believe in the Soviet engineering school. They are indeed romantics who haven't yet lost their profound faith that people can genuinely come together, that you simply can't just hope someone else will do something. Because usually it's hard to believe in such an initiative. You sit there thinking, you're going to build a factory now, what are you talking about? And to actually believe that 10 of us here can come to an agreement and make it happen, that's difficult. In other words, it's this principle of collectivism that still burns inside them. They understand that they can be part of something really big, even if just a little.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's pretty much it for me, friends. If you're interested, subscribe to the Nova Project's Telegram and YouTube channels. I recommend, at the very least, following this fascinating series and, at most, supporting an entire industry.
Yes, we're creating an entirely new industry. It's still a bit awkward to say, but essentially we're truly building the foundational aeronautics industry. This significant development will certainly bring along so many other exciting things, so it's definitely going to be really quite cool.
Thank you very much, Sergey. Wishing everyone a good day. Goodbye. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your questions in the comments. We'll read them all and answer everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.